My wife asked, "Did you really record me saying that while I was sleeping?" Looking terrified. I said, "Record what?" She panicked. Never mind. When I told her I'd never recorded anything, she'd already confessed everything about her affair in her panic. I, 34 male, am sitting in a house that is currently 60% drywall dust and 40% betrayal. But for the first time in 6 months, it's quiet. It started on a Tuesday. I'm a data analyst for a logistics firm, which means I live my life by patterns, predictability, and verifiable facts. My wife, Jessica, 31 female, was the chaos to my order. She's an interior design consultant, a job title that mostly involved scrolling Pinterest and buying overpriced swatches. We've been married 4 years. For the last 6 months, we've been undergoing a massive renovation of our downstairs living area and kitchen. It was Jessica's passion project. She hired the contractor, a guy named Bryce, who drove a truck that cost more than my first 2 cars combined and always smelled like expensive cologne and sawdust. I woke up Tuesday at 6 a.m. to my alarm. Jessica was already sitting up in bed, staring at me. Her skin was pale, clammy. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, or worse, a credit card bill she couldn't hide. "Did you listen to it?" she whispered. Her voice was trembling. I blinked, still groggy. "Listen to what?" "The recording," she snapped, clutching the duvet. "The app, my sleep app. It says it recorded a noise disturbance at 3 a.m. Did you listen to it?" I have no idea what she's talking about. I don't check her sleep app. I barely check my own pulse. But the terror in her eyes woke up the analytical part of my brain. Why is she terrified of a sleep talk recording? Most people just fart or mumble about cheese. I sat up, rubbed my face, and decided to run a test. A bluff. "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice flat. "I heard it." The color drained from her face completely. She looked like a wax figure melting under a heat lamp. "Oh God," she breathed. "Jason, I was dreaming. I didn't mean it. It's just subconscious stress." I stayed silent. The silence is a powerful tool. People hate a vacuum. They fill it with truth. "It doesn't mean I love him," she rushed on, the words tumbling out like marbles from a spilt jar. "Bryce and I. It was just a physical thing. The renovation stress, the dust, you being at work all the time. It just happened. That conversation you heard, me telling him I loved his hands on me. That was just dream talk. Please, Jason. It's over. We haven't touched each other since the cabinets went in." I felt my stomach drop through the mattress and hit the floorboards. Bryce, the contractor, the guy I was paying $45,000 to remodel my kitchen. "You slept with the contractor," I said. It wasn't a question. She started crying. "I thought you heard. You said you heard the recording. I said his name, didn't I? In the recording? I said, 'Bryce, don't stop.'" Oh God. I stood up. "Jessica, I didn't listen to anything. I didn't even know you had that app running." She froze. The tears stopped instantly, replaced by a flash of pure, unadulterated rage. She realized she'd just played herself. "You tricked me?" she screeched. "You manipulated me into confessing? That is entrapment, you sick, controlling psycho." "I didn't trick you," I said, walking to the closet to get my suit. "I answered a question. You filled in the blanks. And for the record, entrapment is a legal term for law enforcement. I'm just a husband who now knows why the kitchen renovation is 3 months behind schedule." "It's not what you think," she yelled, following me. "He gets me. He's creative. You're a spreadsheet, Jason. You're boring. Bryce has vision." "Does his vision include finishing the backsplash he invoiced me for in July?" I asked, grabbing my tie. She threw a pillow at me. "You can't leave. We need to talk about this. You can't just walk away after tricking me." "I'm going to work," I said, "because one of us needs to pay for the vision. We will discuss this tonight." I walked out. I drove to a diner 3 towns over, ordered black coffee, and called the bank. Then I called a lawyer. Then I called a forensic home inspector. Because here's the thing about me being a spreadsheet. I noticed discrepancies. And for the last 3 months, the invoices for materials have been astronomical. Yet the work has been shoddy. I let it slide because I trusted my wife's expertise. Now, I'm auditing everything. Update 1. It has been 5 days since the confession. The atmosphere in the house is toxic. Jessica has moved into the guest room, which is ironic because it's the only room Bryce didn't renovate, so it actually has a finished floor. She has oscillated between crying, begging, and intense entitlement-fueled rage. She seems to believe that because I tricked her words, into confessing, the infidelity doesn't count. In her mind, the breach of privacy, which didn't happen, cancels out the breach of marital vows. The day after the confrontation, I came home to find Bryce's truck in the driveway. He wasn't working. He was sitting at my kitchen island, my half-finished plywood-topped kitchen island, drinking a LaCroix. "We need to talk, buddy," Bryce said. He didn't stand up. He was wearing a tight t-shirt that showed off his gym muscles. He looked like he was auditioning for a reality show about people who peaked in high school. "Get out of my house," I said, putting my keys in the bowl. "Jessica says you're cutting off the funds," Bryce said, leaning back. "We have a contract, man. You owe me another $12,000 for the marble countertops. They're on back order, but I need the deposit." "I don't have a contract with you," I corrected him. "Jessica signed the contract, and since Jessica has no income and the joint account is now frozen pending legal review, I suggest you ask her for the money." Jessica walked in, wearing her victim face. "Jason, stop being abusive. You can't stop the renovation. We have to live here. You're punishing me by making us live in a construction zone." "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm pausing a project that is the scene of the crime. Also, Bryce, I looked at the invoices for the custom cabinets. Curiously, the SKU numbers match the stock units from IKEA, but you charge me for Amish handcrafted oak." Bryce shifted. Look, those are just placeholders. I modified them. It's custom work." "It's fraud," I said. "I hired a private inspector. He came by yesterday while you were at lunch for 4 hours. He documented everything. The wiring isn't up to code. The plumbing is a disaster. And the materials are 20% of what I paid for." "You came into the house without telling me?" Jessica gasped. "You brought a stranger in here? That is a violation of my safe space." "It's my house, Jessica. I bought it 2 years before we met. Your name isn't on the deed. It's on the marriage license, which is currently being shredded by my lawyer." "I have rights," she screamed. "I put sweat equity into this house. I designed this kitchen." "You picked out tile while sleeping with the installer," I said. "That's not equity. That's a cliché." I turned to Bryce. "You have 10 minutes to get your tools and get out. If you're not gone, I'm calling the police to report trespassing and contractor fraud. And Bryce, I'd check your liability insurance. I have a feeling you're going to need it." Bryce looked at Jessica. Jessica looked at Bryce. For a second, I saw the reality hit them. He wasn't her knight in shining armor. He was a grifter who found a bored housewife with access to a credit line. And she wasn't his muse. She was a mark. "I need my tools," Bryce muttered, standing up. "You can't kick him out." Jessica grabbed my arm. "He's the only one who knows how to finish the island." "The island is made of plywood and lies, Jessica. It's never getting finished." Bryce left. He took his saws, his drills, and shockingly, the LaCroix. Jessica spent the rest of the night screaming on the phone to her mother, telling her that I was financially abusing her and that I was jealous of her creative partnership. My lawyer, a woman named Sarah who scares me in a good way, called me this morning. "She's hired counsel," Sarah said. "They're going to argue that the renovation money was a gift to the marital estate and that she's entitled to half the house's appreciation value, even if she didn't pay the mortgage." "The house is a disaster zone," I said. "It hasn't appreciated. It's depreciated." "Good," Sarah said. "We can use that. But Jason, brace yourself. She's going to play dirty. She's already claiming to her lawyer that you have illegal surveillance devices in the house because of the recording comment." "I don't have anything." "I know. But proving a negative is expensive. Just don't engage. Don't record her. Don't trap her. Let her hang herself." I hung up. I went to the kitchen to make a sandwich. The fridge is in the living room plugged into an extension cord. I stood there, eating turkey on stale bread, looking at the hole in the floor where the luxury vinyl plank was supposed to go. I found a receipt on the floor, tucked under a tarp. It was from a jewelry store, dated 3 weeks ago. Item: men's chronograph watch. Price: $2,500. Paid for with the Visa card I pay off every month. The card meant for household emergencies. I don't own a chronograph watch. But I noticed Bryce was wearing a very shiny one yesterday. I took a picture of the receipt. I put it in a folder on my cloud drive labeled The Vision. Update 2. Things have escalated from toxic to nuclear warfare. Jessica has refused to leave the house. Her lawyer told her to stay put to establish residency and claim marital squatter rights, or whatever the legal term is. So, we are roommates. Roommates who hate each other. She has decided that her best defense is a strong offense. She has started labeling everything in the fridge. She moved all her furniture, a beanbag chair and a lamp, into the guest room. She walks around wearing noise-canceling headphones, presumably so she doesn't have to hear the sound of her own poor decisions. But the entitlement, it's breathtaking. Yesterday, I got a notification from our smart doorbell. I checked the feed. A delivery truck was dropping off a pallet of hardwood flooring. I wasn't expecting flooring. I canceled all the orders. I went home at lunch. The pallet was sitting in the driveway. Jessica was outside, signing for it. "What is this?" I asked, stepping out of my car. She flipped her hair. "It's the Brazilian koa. For the living room, I reordered it." "With what money?" "I used the joint Amex," she said, defiant. "My lawyer said you can't cut off my access to customary standards of living. Renovating this house is my standard of living." "The joint Amex has a limit," I said. "And I lowered it to $500 last week." Her face fell. "What?" "No. The guy said it went through." "It went through because I haven't removed you as an authorized user yet. I was waiting for the billing cycle to close. But I set a transaction limit." "How much was this flooring?" $4,000, she whispered. "Then it didn't go through on the card," I said. "Did you write a check?" I gave them a post-dated check from the checkbook in the drawer." I laughed. It was a dark, dry sound. "Jessica, that account has $12 in it. I moved the renovation funds to a separate holding account per my lawyer's instructions. That check is going to bounce so hard it will crack the pavement." The delivery driver, a guy who looked like he just wanted to eat his lunch, looked up from his clipboard. "Wait, the check's no good?" "It is rubber, my friend," I said. "You might want to load that back up." Jessica screamed. "No, you can't. This is essential maintenance." "Exotic hardwood is not essential maintenance," I told the driver. "Take it back." As the driver started loading the pallet back onto the forklift, Jessica turned on me. "You are sabotaging me. You want me to fail. You're just jealous because Bryce and I had passion and you have spreadsheets." "Bryce," I said, dropping the bomb I'd been holding. "Speaking of Bryce, I found the receipt for the watch, Jessica. The $2,500 watch." She froze. "That was a thank you gift. Thanks for his hard work." "Hard work?" He put in 3 cabinets and a fake outlet. But here's the kicker. I called the jewelry store. I pretended to be you, asking about the warranty. Turns out the watch was returned 4 days ago. She blinked. "He returned it?" "He did. For cash. He didn't want your token of affection, Jess. He wanted the liquidity. Probably to pay for his truck payments, which I looked up. He's 3 months behind." "You're lying," she spat. "He loves that watch. He wears it every day." "He wears a fake one now," I said. "Or maybe he just told you he loved it while he was cashing out, just like he told you he loved your vision while charging me triple for lumber." She stormed into the house. 10 minutes later, I heard a car screech into the driveway. It was Bryce. He didn't look smug this time. He looked desperate. He banged on the door. I opened it. "I'm suing you," he said, pointing a finger at me. "Breach of contract. You locked me out of the job site. I have materials in there." "You have a box of rusty nails and a stolen dream in there," I said. "But sure, sue me. My lawyer would love to depose you. She has questions about the IKEA cabinets, and the wiring that isn't up to code, and the fact that you're not actually a licensed contractor in this state. I checked the registry this morning. You're a licensed handyman. There's a $30,000 limit on projects you can legally bid on. This project was $60K. You broke the law just by signing the estimate." Bryce's jaw worked. He looked past me to Jessica, who was standing in the hallway looking small. "Babe," Jessica said. Tell him about us." Bryce looked at her with pure annoyance. "Jess, shut up. I need to get paid. My truck is getting repoed." You returned the watch?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yeah, I returned the watch," he yelled. Because your husband froze the accounts and you gave me a bounced check for the plumbing rough-in. I have bills. I don't have time for this high school romance crap. The silence that followed was heavy. Jessica looked at him like he was a stranger. I left my marriage for you, she whispered. You left your marriage because you were bored, Bryce sneered. And now you're broke. Don't put that on me. He turned to me. I want my tools back, the ones I left in the basement. They are on the curb, I said. I put them there an hour ago. Better hurry, it looks like rain. He ran to his truck. Jessica stood in the hallway. The entitlement was cracking, revealing the pathetic reality underneath. He didn't mean that, she said, mostly to herself. He's just stressed. He meant it, I said. And Jessica? And the forensic audit came back. We know about the consulting fees you paid him. The $5,000 checks written to cash. That's embezzlement of marital funds. My lawyer is adding fraud to the divorce petition. You can't do that, she said, her eyes wide. I'm your wife. You're my co-defendant, I said. Get a better lawyer. Update 3, final. The divorce was finalized yesterday. It wasn't the dramatic courtroom showdown you see in movies. It was a quiet, suffocating meeting in a conference room that smelled like lemon polish and anxiety. Here is the tally of the wreckage. Jessica tried to fight for the house. Her lawyer argued that she had an emotional attachment to it, and that my controlling behavior, i.e., stopping her from spending money we didn't have on a boyfriend who didn't want her, was grounds for her to keep the primary residence. My lawyer, Sarah, laid out the evidence on the mahogany table. The fraud. We had proof of $18,000 in consulting fees and material costs that went directly into Bryce's personal bank account, and partly back to Jessica in cash withdrawals. The unlicensed work. Since Bryce wasn't licensed for a project of this scale, the renovations actually lowered the value of the home. I have to pay $20,000 to a real contractor to fix the electrical hazards they created. The house is worth less now than when we started. The adultery. In our state, adultery impacts alimony if it can be proven that marital assets were spent on the affair. The watch, the dinners, the consulting fees. It all added up. Jessica sat across from me. She looked tired. The entitlement was gone, replaced by a sullen, bitter resignation. I just want what's fair, she said, her voice thin. I gave you 4 years of my life. And you took $45,000 of my savings to build a playhouse for your boyfriend, I said. Her lawyer kicked her under the table. My client is willing to settle for a lump sum payout of $10,000, and she keeps her car. The car is in my name, I said. And she hasn't made a payment in 6 months, but fine. She can have the car, but she takes the loan that goes with it. Jessica paled. I can't get refinanced. My credit score is not good. That's not my problem, I said. In the end, we settled. The house, mine, the debt, the credit card debt she racked up on the joint cards, hers. I proved she made the charges after I filed for separation. The flooring incident helped. The alimony, 0. We traded the fraud charges for a clean break. I agreed not to press criminal charges for the embezzlement if she waived spousal support. She signed the paper so fast the pen almost smoked. The car. I kept it. I sold it to CarMax on the way home. The aftermath. Jessica is living with her mother. From what I hear, it's not going well. Her mother is a woman who values appearances above all else, and having a divorced, broke daughter sleeping in her sewing room is cramping her style. Bryce? That was the cherry on top. I didn't sue him. I did something better. I reported him to the state licensing board for contracting without a license. I also sent the invoices to the IRS tip line. You see, Bryce liked to be paid in cash or checks made out to consulting. I doubt he declared that income. Last I heard, he's being audited, and his truck was repossessed. As for me, I'm sitting in my kitchen. The island is gone. I tore out the plywood myself with a crowbar. It was therapeutic. The floor is still subfloor, but it's clean. I hired a new contractor, an old guy named Stan, who writes everything down in a notebook and wears suspenders. He told me he can fix the mess, but it will take time. Good work ain't fast, Stan told me, and fast work ain't good. I'm drinking a bourbon that cost $80. It tastes like victory and oak. I opened the sleep app on my phone last night, just out of curiosity. I set it to record. This morning, I listened to it. Silence. 8 hours of perfect, uninterrupted silence. No sleep talking, no confessions, no chaos, just peace.